we're going to start off with the just crazy slew of rumors, leaks. I don't even know, like accessory makers that are putting out Switch 2 accessories and videos and ads that people are tearing apart to figure out, are these actual, based on actual specs? Is it all speculation? What is going on? There's so much of this.
It almost feels worthless to me because there's so much of it, Sorry, David, I know you eat this up.
Well, let's start big picture. Yeah. How are we feeling about, is it just,
I'm exhausted by it. And at this point, I feel like there's no point in combing through any of it until we actually get anything official. That's my opinion. And I'm obviously okay with other people having their opinions. I get that some people eat this up and love sifting through all of it. And at this point, I'm just like, okay, we know that something is coming. I don't care about any of this until I know what it actually is.
I'm still pretty excited by it. Like, I like seeing the stuff come out. I think that it's interesting that it's all these accessory manufacturers just straight up showing it. Like, it feels like a major breach of NDA or something. I don't really know exactly what's going on there.
They're not. Those aren't the licensed guys though, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
brand.
Yeah.
They know somebody at Foxconn or one of the manufacturing plants in China somewhere, and somebody, greased some palms and showed them the shell or something that is being manufactured. I mean, Nintendo has to be making plastic pieces already, right?
Right.
And so then they take a picture and they measure it and they're like, we make our cases in the same factory. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Some of them are playing coy. There's also BS out there, right? Like I remember I called somebody at Game Shark at one point where they're saying, we're developing this for Switch 2. I'm like, you've never seen one. They're like, no, we haven't.
It's the D brand one that I think is funny because, like, I don't know, somebody at The Verge talked to somebody high up at D brand, and he's just
the CEO.
And they were like, where'd you find out about this? He's like, I can't tell you that.
I mean, honestly, I believe him. I think they've either gotten measurements based on somebody, just kind of looking at the shell designs and taking them for them, or they shared them when they were doing a factory visit. Somebody said, look what fell off the conveyor belt, right? And whipped it out of the backpack. But I mean, I love all this stuff. I think it's so exciting. The one thing about the Switch 2, which is a little different from the old days, and I've been obviously covering Nintendo since the 90s. Mm-hmm. And so we were always salivating over every little bit that came out of Nintendo. But it used to be that you heard crazy explanations of what the GameCube controller would be like. And it's got one giant button and then it has beans around the edges and the analog, the triggers click and stuff like that. And now it's just the Switch, just slightly bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, it has a tiny button.
It's got a C button now, whatever the hell that does. Yeah. I don't know. I like that it is chiller and that it's more iterative. I think this is definitely the Furukawa era of Nintendo here, is playing it a little bit more safe. I think that's probably for the best. But it's just funny. I mean, there's clearly a lot of smoke, and I think that I've been of the opinion for a long time that the release of this thing has been pushed back several times behind the scenes. And I think a lot of people have had these specs, and I think they are trying to get enough units out there at launch to stop scalpers and stuff like that. So it definitely makes sense that the kind of floodgates are finally open, but I feel like it's now in the ball's in Nintendo's court. It's like, everybody has kind of revealed the Switch 2 for you. It's time for you to put out a trailer. But
I'm curious. I mean, the biggest change is going to be the hardware power, right? You can no longer make a video game for one of the other consoles and comfortably or realistically port it over, right? Because it's so hard to get the games to run at a decent resolution and frame rate. And so the hardware power and how they manage to run games while not overheating. If you guys ever play, Resident Evil, like a high-powered game on your phone is starting to sweat and flames come out of the port, right?
Totally.
And so them figuring out the heat management, I think, is one of the more interesting tech stories. But the second thing is the MacGuffin. And Nintendo has always put out hardware with one little thing that captures the imagination of somebody who watches someone interact with it, right? Like whether it's the Wii and you move the controller, or the Wii U, and you've got this tablet style thing interacting, you toss things to the screen. And then with a Switch, the whole like the click and the snap, right? They can't do the click and the snap again. So what is it? The magnetic Joy-Con, that doesn't sound that much of an attractive new feature. So what is it, right? And so I'm really excited about that part.
Summer and I have theories on that. I mean, I've been saying for a long time well, I think they're jumping back into VR at some point. I think it would make a lot of sense to slide the tablet. Exactly, Pear. That's what I'm talking about. Just tape the Switch to your face. Finally bring back Virtual Boy games. That's kind of what I think the kind of killer app is. But either way, I mean, we know that there's going to be attachments for the thing, most likely with that top USB-C port. Switch attach was a word that was thrown around a lot in the industry. Who knows how realistic that was, but that was something that was floated around for a long time. So I think something like that will be sort of, for better or for worse. I think that's kind of an inoffensive gimmick they could do.
Before we move on, let me ask this question. There's been some talk about a reveal in January. Does everyone here think that that's realistic, and or do you think all of this smoke, as you described it, is causing anybody at Nintendo to change plans?
No, they don't. You usually don't see them adjust unless it impacts shareholder kind of confidence and stock price, right? You've seen that last year or this year maybe, where Nintendo actually output a comment from their Japanese account saying we're not going to show the next gen hardware or something like that. That's really unusual, and they only do it when it affects stock price and when they want to calm people down. I don't think they're changing their plans, but I think January reveal is realistic, given that they just want to make sure that they sell as many units through the holidays as possible. And don't get, families' eyes off the Switch and say, oh, I'm going to wait for the Switch 2. But their shareholders are saying, what are you going to do? And when are you going to do it? Especially with the rumblings around PlayStation and Xbox and all of that, right? So
Tempus fugit.
Yep, exactly.
Well, if there is no other comments on this.
The only other thing I'll say, and we don't have to talk about this, but I didn't realize this, that apparently a Reddit user claims to have the Switch 2. We'll post proof on Christmas.
Okay.
That's quite a headline.
It's been a really funny, actually, we can talk about it for a second, because I can't remember what subreddit this was posted on. I think it's one of the new ones, like Switch 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's.
But apparently a moderator there is like backing them up too.
Oh my God.
And saying like, no, they do have proof and they sent it to me privately and I did whatever.
If that's true, if somebody, swiped a unit from a plant somewhere, Nintendo is going to lawyer up so badly. Remember what happened with the iPhone and Apple when that got swiped at the bar? Nintendo's not gonna take that lightly.
I'm here for the drama.
It feels like a really big lead up to some joke or something. I don't know. I'm really hoping it's like a joke, because there's always, like, when all these leaks and stuff happen, I'm always hopeful that there's some just wild stuff involved, because like to throw everybody off. I don't like it when it's all right. Not as fun.